J.K. Dobbins is a talented running back drafted out of Ohio State with the 55th pick of the 2020 draft. But to be honest, so far, the J.K. in his name has stood for, just kidding, because he hasn't really been a great fantasy asset. But there are a number of running backs this year who are screaming, draft me, and J.K. is one of them. Let's go inside the numbers here under the hood and check out the projection over at fantasypoints.com. Well, J.K. suffered that very serious knee injury preseason of 2021, and it took him a minute to get back here. He was not himself for the most part, and it did not make it to week 1 of 2022. So let's take a look at some pretty revealing numbers here with J.K. Dobbins. First 4 games for him, which came weeks 3 through 7, he averaged just 3.5 yards per carry. That was up to 7.0 yards per carry the last 4 games of the season. 2.4 yards after contact per carry first 4 games, weeks 3 through 7. Final 4 games, he was almost double, 4.23 yards after contact per carry. He also went from 0.17 forced missed tackles per game to 0.21 forced missed tackles per game those last 4 games. All, of course, data provided by Fantasy Points Data. So certainly coming off that injury back in 2021, still we can't ignore it. So we'll take 2 games right away from him and project 15 games. Of course, a very underreported story maybe in fantasy after the 2023 draft was in the books is that the Baltimore Ravens did nothing of note. And we still just have Gus Edwards behind J.K. Dobbins. No offense to Gus Edwards, but he's a little bit more of a guy than a real difference maker. We will give Dobbins 15.6 carries per game in those 15 games. That's 235 carries. They will be, running the rock plenty in Baltimore. That's what they do. But they will also throw it more this year under Todd Monken. We'll get to that in a moment. We'll give him 5.3 yards per carry, which is below his career average. 5.9 for the career is J.K. Dobbins, and we're going to give him 5.3 yards per carry. Once again, very, very realistic. That's 235 carries for 1,250 yards. He's been good in terms of the touchdown percentages and the like. He's got 11 touchdowns on 226 carries. That's not too shabby for sure. So we did give him 10.5 touchdowns. I know Lamar Jackson is there, and he is a little bit of a Bogart, but let's not forget back in 2020, in just 15 games and 1 start, 134 carries, he had 9 rushing touchdowns, did J.K. Dobbins. Pretty good nose for the end zone there. So feel good about that. Now we're going to throw the football a little bit more this year in Baltimore. That's great. We still have to keep expectations in check, though, because Lamar Jackson is not really a check down quarterback. Oftentimes for the quarterback, the check down is the final progression, and guys like Lamar never get to the final progression because they're taking off and running. But we should mention that back in 2020, his rookie year, Dobbins did sneakily catch 18 of 24 targets, a 25% catch rate. So we're going to give him 29 receptions on the season. That is 1.9 per game. And oddly enough, his yard per reception average is pretty weak. We went 6.7 yards per reception for J.K. Dobbins. Everything helped. 195 receiving yards with 1 receiving touchdown. It all adds up to 240 fantasy points. We have him at fantasypoints.com at RB10, yet on Underdog Fantasy, he is only RB 19. So a little bit of a buying opportunity right now for J.K. Dobbins. And don't forget, on Underdog Fantasy, go to fantasypoints.com/underdog. If you've never played there, create an account on Underdog, deposit merely $10, and get a subscription to fantasypoints.com for 2023 for only $5. So make sure you do that if you've never played on Underdog, and make sure you like and subscribe for more good content at fantasypoints.com. You're welcome.